Coming up next, the bonus round puts game rentals square in its sights. Is the rental business at places like GameFly and Blockbuster hurting or helping the industry?
I love the ability to try before you buy, and I think that's critical for the games business.
And with the rise of Xbox Marketplace and digital distribution, where does the rental business go from here?
We don't know what the business model is going to be for video games. What we do know is the publishers are spending more and they want to get more money, and the consumers appear to be willing to pay more.
Our three experts do anything but mail in their thoughts next on the bonus round. Everybody, welcome to the bonus round, where the biggest names in the video game business get together to talk about the issues that matter most. Tonight, we're talking about your dollars and video games, and joining me to discuss that topic is Ed Zobrist, the president of Sierra Online, Sean Spector, the co-founder of GameFly, and Michael Pachter, an analyst with Wedbush Morgan Securities. All right, let's talk about rental, something that Sean knows a lot about for GameFly. Gamers, I think, love the idea that they can subscribe to a service, rent, games, or the Netflix model for video games. But is the rental business good or bad for the video game industry, Sean?
In my opinion, it's great.
Right.
In my opinion, it allows a lot more people to play a lot more games than they'd ever be able to afford to buy.
Right.
GameFly has over 4,000 titles across 9 platforms. So if you own a PS3 or you own a PS2 or you own an Xbox or Wii, if you've got multiple kids in the household, we really allow people to play lots of games for a very affordable price and then decide the games they want to buy. And I think that's critical for the game business.
Now, some people have argued, I know Mark Rain from Epic Games has famously kind of argued that, rentals should be banned because it's not capturing, as much value. And it's like, people are renting games and, instead of selling, $60 copies, people are only getting, much less out of that.
Well, what we talked about earlier was the cost of games keep going up.
Right.
It's not very different from the movie business 30, 40 years ago where the cost of movies kept going up. So the movie guys had to figure out other ways to make money off that same IP.
Right.
So they figured out all these other methods of distribution. And I think that's what needs to happen with the game business. I think rental's good. I think episodic content, if that works, I think that's going to be good. Sell-through is good. Maybe sell half the game at a lower price. If you want to buy the next few levels, you pay more. Whether they charge for online play or not, I think that stuff's important because at the end of the day, consumer wants choice and they need options. And if you don't give them any options, you're going to end up turning away consumers.
Right. Michael, what do you see, the rental business? How is that impacting the publishers? Because some publishers argue that we're losing sales because people are just renting a game instead of buying it.
I think we're back to the discussion about good games versus bad games.
Right.
I think rental definitely drives sales of good games.
Yeah.
I think rental definitely hurts sales of bad games.
Yeah.
So if we see more good games than bad games, it's really good for the publishers. It's a really low risk trial. You spend $6 at a Blockbuster, you spend $20 a month, and for $6 you can rent one game. For $20 you can rent as many games as you can get through. And I think as a consumer, if I have an opportunity to rent 7 or 8 games a month for $20 and then pick the 1 or 2 that I really want to buy, it's going to drive sales.
Yeah, our members, they're buying 6 to 12 games a year in addition to paying for their GameFly membership.
And they're usually games that they rent that they really like, that they sort of convert into buying.
Yeah, and then they may not buy them all from GameFly. They may buy them at Best Buy or wherever. But the point is, rental allows people access to a much larger library than they could ever afford to buy. I mean, if you're a hardcore gamer and you're scraping by, you can't afford to buy 1 or 2 games a month.
Right.
But if you can play them first and rent them, and then buy them at a discount, either from GameFly or buy them used or at a trade-in store, that's a big upside, I think, for the game industry as a whole. The game industry wants as many people playing games as possible.
Right.
I think GameFly and other business models will allow more people to play games.
Ed, what's the publisher take on the idea of renting games? Is that helping or hurting a company like?
This all comes down to whether you believe it's a trial device or a substitute purchase device.
Sure.
And I think Michael's right, is that we fundamentally think it's a trial device essentially because a game that's going to go through the GameFly network more hardcore is going to be a game with depth, long-term play,
Right.
which tells us that a good game will go through a trial and result in a purchase.
If there's
and that game
multiplayer and
fail.
things, and people are going to rent the game, they're likely probably going to, if they love Halo 2, they're not going to just keep renting it. They're going to
They still buy games.
Right.
I mean, we sell every game we buy, we end up selling, either to our members or to people that just come to the GameFly store. So everything that we purchase gets sold, so gamers continue to buy.
Right. I think and for our standpoint, probably used is more of an issue than rentals.
Well, that's something
it's
some people say, like
marketing
the resale market, like Michael mentioned, in the last part, the idea that you can sort of buy a game and then go sell it back to a retailer, and a lot of publishers there say that, well, we're not getting anything of that second sale.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. Is that hurting the business?
Well, in the sense that it was not been factored into the business model as it stands now. So now we're suddenly having to take into account something that didn't really exist before. And we know it directly is a substitute purchase going on there. Right. Michael was talking before about, well, what happens later on if can I turn around and sell my products later on down the line for, well, that's the only way you can do it right now. And it's certainly a substitute sale.
Yeah, and I mean, some companies have talked about, well, should we have, certain games that, you have to activate once you buy them or something, so, you can't basically resell it or you have to rebuy it again from the publisher. Do you think that kind of stuff is going to happen down the road?
No, I don't think so. I think that's so complicated and just so technologically heavy. I doubt we'd go that route.
Right.
I mean, it may be possible if things go more digital than offline,
right,
but not in the current model.
Now, with the rise of online demos, and people can download demos now on Xbox Live Marketplace, how do you think that's going to impact the rental business going forward, Sean? That people can, sometimes try a game through a demo and not necessarily having to rent it. Does that?
I think it's great. Because I come at all this from a gamer at heart, so I think it's great. I download all the demos on Xbox Live. I love it, and I play a demo I like. I'll rent it at GameFly. I like the game. I'll buy it from GameFly. So I love the ability to try before you buy, and I think that's critical for the games business. I mean, you think about alternative forms of entertainment, whether it's movies and music, you always get to sample the media before you purchase it.
Right.
And I think it's critical for the games business to evolve as a business model to figure out ways to get in the hands of more consumers.
Yeah.